I hope you like brawls. I hope you like fights. Because if you weren't paying attention last Wednesday, you missed a hell of a brawl to end one of the many wonderful things of wrestling as we present this week's episode number 35. And I did count it this time. I know I'm right. Episode 35 of Wrestling with Egos for the disembodied absentee voice of RJ. We do welcome you to the show. RJ is absent this week due to some family commitments. So as always, bringing you the lean, mean, wrestle talking machine that it is the OG crew. My name is Patrick, alongside my best friend in the entire world, Brian. Brian's nice and relaxed now after about 7 shots of tequila because it was teacher parent conference day at his school. So, you know, he was throwing them back during the pre-show meeting. Thank God this is Skype and I don't have to smell his breath because I have seen the man after several shots of tequila. He holds it about as well as I do, which isn't very well. Brian, how you doing, brother? Are you sober? Are you sober?
I am just fine. I am happy to be here. And percentage points of that last statement that he just uttered were true. Most of it was pure poppycock, if you will. I want to thank everybody for the... Yeah. Want to thank everybody for the great response to our Halloween episode last week. We got a lot of run on that episode, and most of it was due to the contributions of the Fiend, aka RJ. You put a lot of thought into that. It's evident. It shows. Thank you to you and your entire family. The Villain in Training, Mrs. AEW, all the crew over there. You made the first 5 minutes of that episode last week appointment television, as it were. So we definitely want to thank you all for that. But looking forward to talking about some great wrestling and some great mic work and some great stuff all around this week.
Great storyline building, both verbally, both creative wise. We had a lot of really good stuff. But while we have the good stuff, we also have bad stuff and ugly stuff, which always brings us to our opening segment, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Brian, why don't you rattle off all 3 of yours first?
Ooh, a format change. I love format changes. Really quickly, I'll say my good. I have 2 goods this week. The first one is the promo of one Cody Rhodes, which we will unpack later on in the show. So I'm not going to say much more about that. Yeah, pretty much. And the other good is the Daniel Bryan versus Adam Cole match that we got on NXT. And it's nice when 2 guys that don't touch that much, you know, get in the ring together and make some magic with each other. So
my understanding, I don't believe Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole ever touched before last Friday night.
So that's my good. My bad's gonna surprise you.
Okay.
WWE, one of their many problems is they tend to over rely on things. They do them to death. And so my bad this week is WWE's over reliance on invasions. Because invasions ought to have consequences. And it just seems like these invasions exist in a vacuum. And then after the invasion happens, after you get to the event or whatever, 2 weeks later, it's like, okay, just, you know, we're just here wrestling now. We're just here with the, you know. So I kind of have an issue with that. Like, they've tried to do this several times. They may have finally gotten it right this time. It remains to be seen. And we'll talk about this a little bit more at length too later on.
Yes,
but
we will.
I feel like this is quickly turning into a trope, the way a ladder match does, or the way a Falls Count Anywhere match does. There's no real consequences to it.
Or the way anything that comes out of the brain of one Vincent Kennedy McMahon does.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, he is a walking trope machine.
True. And my ugly,
Just like former NFL receiver Antonio Brown is a walking source of entertainment.
Don't get me started on him. My ugly is, why are we having Brock Lesnar walk around backstage and throw around guys who are 5'3" and 100 pounds soaking wet? What does that prove? That doesn't prove anything to me. And I mean, a lot of people thought that was a good, ooh, Lesnar's angry and all this stuff. No, you're beating up crew guys. I'm sure they're plants, and I'm sure they signed a hold harmless agreement and got their, $5,000 hazard pay and whatever like that. But it's like, what does that prove to me? It doesn't prove anything to me. And I thought that was pretty ugly, personally.
I actually did not think about that one at all, and I'm kind of mad that I didn't. But here's what I've got. My good. I love a good end of the show brawl. But here's the thing. I don't like the pull apart brawls where you've got, recent example, Tyson Fury on one side, Braun Strowman on the other, and then those two guys just start beating everybody up and they barely get their hands on the dude they want to throw hands with. And then there was AEW Dynamite on this past Wednesday, where every member of the Elite, every member of the Inner Circle were beating the living piss out of each other. And it was just constant action. I mean, you're watching Cody and Jericho, and then all of a sudden, Hangman comes in and gets his hands on Hager, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he got his hands on Hager, Santana, and Ortiz, and the Bucks. And Sammy Guevara's getting him a piece of MJF. And literally, you've got 5 different camera angles going boom, 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 boom. And it's really hard to keep up with, which makes it that much more exciting, as opposed to body and okay, here comes half the jabronis in the locker room are holding back Tyson Fury. Oh, and here comes some security guys, and here comes more security guys, and the rest of the jobbers in the locker room, whether they're on Raw or SmackDown, who gives a flying fart, and they're holding back Braun Strowman. And now all of these security guys and the jabronis are going to get the crap beat out of them. You know what? I have never once seen Roman Reigns or John Cena or Randy Orton or any of those high-profile guys ever come out to break up one of these fights. Hey, maybe it might be more effective if you send out your big guns to stop this bullcrap, but no. Hey, you know who's going to stop a fight? Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil can't even be counted on to run down the ramp in a battle royal without tripping over his own 2 feet and giving us comedic gold for the rest of our lives.
You know who my pick would be to stop a brawl?
Who?
I'm going with 2 guys. I'm going with Mojo Rawley, and I'm going with No Way Jose. They're the first 2 going out. Like, go on out there and get them.
Yeah. Yeah. The next 2 guys would be the B team.
Right.
And the sad thing is, I love Bo Dallas, but anyway.
The B stands for best.
The B stands for beat down. So I think I'm going to skip the bad for a minute and go straight to the ugly, because I think my bad's going to be a little bit jaw-dropping for you. And I'm going to go into the ugly and say 3 simple words. Seth freaking Rollins. Because here's my thing. It's like he loses the Universal Championship. It's on SmackDown. Brock quits SmackDown to go to Raw, which is another stupid thing. If we had the good, the bad, the ugly, and the stupid, that would be my stupid. Okay, so we just have to get Brock on Raw because whatever. Moving right along. We've spent the entire year. We have spent 10 full months of 2019 building up Seth Rollins. He won the Royal Rumble. He won it. He beat Lesnar at WrestleMania. Lost the title when Lesnar decided to cash in. Beat Lesnar for the title at SummerSlam. Goes into the program with Bray. Hell of a Cell happened. Moving on. And then Bray beats him on Halloween for the Universal title at Crown Jewel. And then, I don't know what I'm going to do, man. I don't know. I'm like, really? You know, you talk about Lesnar's here, and I don't know if I have the energy to beat Lesnar again. So you're sorry to sound a little crass on this, and I'm not going to beat myself on this one. So you're going to take the guy that you built up literally from January 1st until Halloween, and now the very next time you put his ass on TV, you're going to pussify him?
Doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean, you literally cut his balls off. And Becky ain't going to be happy about that one. Hey, but that's my thing. It's just like, okay, you know, he's the Beast Slayer. He's done all this. This has been, you know, he's easily had one of the best years of any superstar in 2019 in WWE. And now for the holiday season, you know, his chestnuts have been roasted on somebody else's open fire.
It's one of the unfortunate consequences of continuing to insist on trotting Brock Lesnar out there because he's box office, allegedly. I would argue that his days of box office are over, but that's another discussion for another time.
Honestly and truly, Brian, it depends on the market, because I'll tell you right now, in Saudi Arabia, he's huge box office. And we are not, ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to get into this week all of the alleged, let's call it what it is, horse shit that happened after Crown Jewel concerning flights not making it out of Saudi Arabia and things of that nature, because we still want to devote our episode to our GOAT discussion with Rey Mysterio Jr., and we also want RJ to be in on this. So we're going to table that for next week, because we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. It ain't going away anytime soon. So we're going to take that. We're going to put that up here on this shelf where it's out of reach, because you can't even see my hands right now, boys and girls. And we'll bring it back down next week. And trust me, the gentleman over here on camera 2, and the gentleman in the invisible camera 3, and your boy in camera 1 rocking the old Jacksonville State shirt. Shout out to the alma mater. Go Gamecocks. Fear the beat. We got lots of things to say. Because let's be honest, right now, we don't know what's true and what's not. This is a lot of he said, she said. And I think more will flesh out in the next 7 days, and we'll be able to talk about it then. My bad is Cody Rhodes promo. And it's not what you think. It's not the fact that I think it was just a bad promo. Because you see, there's bad, and then there's bad. There's bad as in Lashley, Lana, and Rusev. And then there's bad as in Muhammad Ali, I'm a bad man. That promo, I honestly and truly can name, you know, there's promos in the history of wrestling. And I think this is a perfect segue to actually fully talk about this as our first opening topic. And I'll just start it off with this. There are promos in the history of wrestling that have a name. The Dealer, one of Ric Flair's. Hard Times. Austin 316. The Pipe Bomb. You stupid dick. This, mark it down. Wednesday night, we saw an iconic promo. Dusty was watching down and just going, "That's a hell of a promo, baby."
Dusty was watching backstage, had his cowboy boots up on the table, and and just sitting there nodding his head. Yep, that's my son. Yes, it is.
That's my boy, baby. But here's my thing. I love the way they built in the story angle. Like, Cody doesn't win it, then he'll never challenge for the AEW World Title. I like that. I like that because what it essentially is doing, it's either guaranteeing that Cody's going to win at Full Gear, or Cody is making the statement, I have no intention of ever being the champion here. I want this company to succeed and I want to run it. And it'll allow Cody to pull the reins back on his wrestling career and run the company, because ultimately Cody is the boss. And he's the booker. He's his dad. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow at Full Gear. I'm really looking forward to that. But I think for me, it was a very passionate promo, and then it turned to straight up venom going after Jericho. Talking about, Jericho refers to Cody as a millennial bitch, and just kind of that age disparity between Jericho and Cody, and the fact that Cody just went right after him, I thought was just mind-blowing. And the fact that some of the language he dropped, the fact that TNT let him get away with that, was like, okay, that's pretty awesome. But I think for me, what really rang true for me was Cody just being so impassioned about what he was doing and what he felt, that, you could feel that. That wasn't a promo where you're just like, okay, cool, he's getting ready for the match. You're just like, yeah. Very few guys in this business, in my opinion, can cut a promo and make you want to run through a wall with him. Dusty could do it. Hogan could do it. And not just like, I'm not saying like a really good promo. I mean like a beat your chest, rally the army kind of promo. Dusty could, Sting could, Hogan could, Cena could. Cody did. And it's just like, okay, let's go. Daniel Bryan could, especially when he was doing that, that run toward WrestleMania 30. I've watched that promo probably a dozen times already, and I still laugh at you, stupid dick.
See, and that's the one part of it for me I could have done without. This promo up to that point I thought was note perfect, because Cody very strategically laid out everything that they've been trying to accomplish, everything that they've been trying to do, legitimize themselves as a brand. And I initially worried about, okay, well, you're painting yourself into a corner here, but I agree with what you said. He either wins the belt and there you are, or he loses the belt and it kind of unencumbers him a little bit. It lets him just kind of be the guy behind the scenes, and every so often when he wants to, he'll wrestle a program with somebody for a supporting title. And it'll be fine. But I did like the way that he ripped Jericho apart for all of the supposed criticisms of him. And this is kind of me being the intellectual guy. Like there were more intellectual ways of cutting down Jericho other than saying you stupid dick. But I get that you're trying to show raw emotion and maybe you don't want it to be quite so scripted and quite so over people's heads and all that kind of stuff. But this was a career defining promo for Cody. It's the kind of promo that we hope to get every week, but it would be too emotionally taxing to deliver this kind of a promo every week.
Right.
That would be unbelievable. That would be not believable after a while.
And if I can jump in with, there are more articulate intellectual ways to get your point across as opposed to cut down Jericho, as opposed to calling him a stupid dick. Let me also say that even on this show, that's the difference. Like, RJ and I are kind of the same way, and you're vastly different. In the 8 years that I've known you, I think I can count maybe on both my hands and both my feet how many times I've actually heard you legitimately swear, other than, saying damn, the 3 words that you can really get away with on broadcast, damn, hell, ass. I don't really count those anymore. Even playing golf with you, and we're both having a really just god-awful day out on the golf course, I rarely hear you swear. Whereas, as in the almost 8 years that you've known me, I don't think I've had a conversation with you where I haven't sworn.
True story.
Very true. I freely admit it. Patrick is a potty mouth.
And if you want the transcripts of those conversations, you can email the show, wrestlingwithegos@gmail.com, or hit us up on Twitter at bkrigo15, at RGEman with 2 N's, at rantmodon. And we'll be happy to forward those transcripts out to you, and you can see what we're talking about.
And also, don't forget to check out the archival footage for all of our MP3s and homework assignment at bit.ly/withegos. Sorry, no Scream this week. You gotta admit, that was pretty slick, me throwing that in there last week.
That was pretty dope.
I was like, yeah.
But I think I get where you're coming from, that the moment probably dictated, going down to the basement, as it were, as opposed to continuing to be highbrow and, that sort of thing. And I understand that, but I guess part of me is still getting used to the non-sanitized, because you're right, TNT apparently is giving them the keys to the kingdom. Yep. And saying, you go say whatever you want within reason. Don't overdo it. And I don't think they have really, but I'm not going to say that it's not an iconic promo for that one reason. I just thought that was kind of jarring and it stuck out to me. I'm like, you had to say that, why? But
I understand.
With some distance and some perspective, I get why he felt he had to say it.
And I'll use this analogy, and as far as like the swearing in Cody's promo, and I think this gets my point across. Let's look at Hollywood. Ryan Reynolds or Samuel L. Jackson, if they are cutting that promo and they're swearing in it, you don't really pay much attention, because if you've seen any Samuel L. Jackson movie with, I think he has said mother effer in every movie he's ever been in except Star Wars. Ryan Reynolds, if you ever watch Deadpool, he comes up with the most creative ways of using the F word. However, if there's, kind of keeping in that pop culture thing, let's go and staying with Marvel movies. Chris Evans as Captain America in all of the Marvel movies might have said 4 or 5 cuss words. And the worst of them was in Endgame, when he says, upon seeing himself, "You got to be shitting me." So for Captain America to drop the S-bomb, that's like, wow, okay. For Samuel L. Jackson to drop the S-bomb or mother effer or whatever, that's commonplace. Me
True.
and you. That's my point. So when Cody drops that, that's the last thing you're expecting. The last thing in the entire world you would expect would be to see Sean Connery go on some profanity-laced tirade where, he's just pissed off at something in a movie. Like, oh my God. So for me, the last thing I expected was for Cody Rhodes to get to go off like that. So that was, to me, just like, damn, he's pissed. So I loved it. I thought, as someone who, Brian clearly has a greater vocabulary than I do, but when it comes to foul language, I'm the astute one in those conversations. So for me, as someone who has a black belt in swearing, that was perfectly timed. That was the perfect way to drive in that point. It's kind of like, the kid that's always getting beat up and bullied. Gosh darn it, stop it. Dadgummit, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, F you. Oh, crap.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Exactly.
just like, it's in a swearing sort of way. It's like that come to Jesus meeting where you're just like, oh, okay. It's real now. Again, I want to change what we're doing. Let's kind of stay with Dynamite. So we're now at the first pay-per-view since the launch of AEW Dynamite. We're getting into Full Gear this weekend. Hell of a pay-per-view card. I wouldn't expect anything less. How have you felt about this build? Because keep in mind, RJ's been the one up until the last month who's been the AEW guy. Now we all are, because we're watching the same product. Right. So for someone that didn't necessarily buy in and buy every damn pay-per-view they ever had, and now we're watching the freeze. Oh, me too. I mooched off of RJ. Hey, full disclosure, bruh.
No shame.
No, God, no, not a damn bit of shame. How have you? You're the teacher, parent-teacher conference. This one, mm-hmm. It. The build, TV-wise, up to this pay-per-view. Because let's be honest, the build started when AEW Dynamite launched on TNT. Where do you?
I'm a little bit.
How would you grade it, and what could have been improved?
I don't think I can give it a grade. The only reason being I don't have the full card in front of me. So I'm going to miss a few matches here, but I'm going to rattle them off really quick. I know obviously you got Jericho and Cody for the right. AEW World Championship. That's probably not what they're calling it, but
you've got Moxley and Omega in a lights out match.
Right. You've got SCU defending their belts against
the Lucha Brothers and Private Party. Private Party won the third place match in that tournament, so it's a triple threat.
And then you've got Riho. You've got Riho defending against someone for the women's championship. I can't remember who. And I forgot about Hangman and Pac.
Yeah, the other Japanese. I can't remember her name.
You're right. That's a sneaky good card. I'm going to say A-, only for the fact that the women's match, and we've talked about, and I guess I can't really fault them for the fact that the women's division is kind of slim. I can't really, because that's a known issue that they have to be working towards to try and rectify that. But we've just rattled off 4 matches with hella stakes, as it were.
Oh yeah.
You've got Omega, trying to get a win, however it has to happen. You've got Moxley, who's playing this, card where he's upset that they don't want to sanction him. I'm too hardcore for you. I'm too
Right.
much of a loose cannon for you. I thought this is what you brought me in here for, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I love that, by the way.
Yeah. You're going to have a bonkers triple threat tag team match. I mean, that goes without saying, because you've gone on at length about how much of a bona fide star you think Scorpio Sky is, and we all know what Frankie's going to do along with him. And then you've got Private Party, who we all know is on the come up because they're making moves.
And the Lucha Brothers are arguably the greatest tag team on the planet.
I've said the Lucha Brothers are a revelation for about a month straight now.
Yeah.
And then you've got all the stakes surrounding Cody and Jericho. And First that the rest of the Elite are going to make their presence felt somehow. And the rest of the Inner Circle is going to make their presence felt somehow. So you have the potential for quite a bit of storyline shifting and propelling and all of that kind of stuff. So I think they've done, a masterful job of, in about 2 months, making people care about what's going to happen with these matches on Saturday night.
I completely agree with that. And the numbers show. I mean, you did your fireside chat about ratings. But one thing you can't deny and one thing that can't be skewed is overall viewership. And Dynamite is climbing.
Right.
NXT is climbing too, but fractionally compared to Dynamite.
And I know this week, I did see where this week is the closest it has been since they started keeping track of it all. Yes. For what it's worth.
Right. But Dynamite is starting to really get some momentum, which is an awesome thing. Yes. And I agree with you on the women's match. I don't believe that's been built very well, but the cupboard is bare in the women's division because, let's be honest, all of the good women's talent and great women's talent in the entire world are either in Stardom over in Japan or they're in some form of WWE. They're either in Raw, SmackDown, NXT, or NXT UK.
Or they're about to challenge Sami Callihan for the Impact.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, Tessa Blanchard doing work.
Tessa Blanchard is a badass.
Yep.
She is.
Tessa Blanchard.
Oh, God, yes. And let's be honest.
I digress.
Yeah. I only think outside in the U.S., I only think there's 2 women that need to be on different shows than different promotions than what they're on, and either be in AEW or WWE. Tessa Blanchard and Kelly Klein. Those are the only 2 that are missing, and they're contractually they're both locked up tighter than Fort Knox.
Exactly.
Impact is not letting Tessa Blanchard go because as you've seen over the last God knows how long, they're intergender cross promoting her through the friggin' roof. She is their star. And Kelly Klein is the only thing that the Women of Honor division has. Because that and the Allure and moving right along. But so you can't, I digress and say you can't, just like you cannot fault AEW for a lack of a women's division because the talent's all somewhere else.
Right.
On the other side of the coin, they have a wealth of talent and they're using it. Shocker there, boys and girls. My God. There are so many moving parts that are going on. And RJ brought up this great point last week where, I had the argument that we only have Inner Circle versus Elite. But RJ was like, We do have that, but in that we have this and this and this and this, and it's all
look at all this other stuff.
right. It's all interconnecting. I'm like, oh crap. You make a very good point on that. So, and that proved it with that amazing brawl at the end of Dynamite.
Hey, spoiler alert, RJ makes a lot of good points.
RJ makes a lot of good points.
Yes,
he makes both of us look like ass. Let's be honest. He makes us look like jabrones in the worst way possible. But when you look at all of that and you look at the build and Pac getting involved and the matches that we've had with Jimmy Havoc and Darby Allin and Joey Janela, Sean Spears. I guarantee you, even though it's not announced, you'll probably have Sean Spears, Joey Janela. You might have a Darby Allin and Darby Allin and Jimmy Havoc match again. Yes, please. And then the tag team division. Jesus Christ. And the sad thing is the tag team division in AEW is so deep, and we're only getting SCU, Lucha Brothers, Private Party for the tag titles. There are 3-4 other teams in there you could throw in there and just be like, okay.
And on the one hand, you argue that maybe they should just, put all their cards on the table. But if Cody were our guest on the show this week, he'd say, why would I do that?
Exactly.
Why would I give you a 5-hour pay-per-view when I've got other things down the road? I've got an event in December. I've got an event in January. I've got an event in February. I mean, let's play the long game. I'm not here to just, make a big fireworks display and then go away. I'm here to play the long game.
Why would I do a tag team turmoil match? That's what the other guys do.
Right.
We're an alternative.
Yeah.
How many times have you heard that phrase on this show, guys?
314,639.
Alternative.
Yeah.
Personally, I give it an A, not even an A minus. The only reason I don't give it an A plus is because honestly, if I watch the show tomorrow, when the women's match happens, I'll go to the bathroom or go to the kitchen. Or I'll start playing around on my phone. I will dismiss that as quickly as I would dismiss a Divas division match between Caitlyn and Alicia Fox. Bathroom break.
But I am your captain. Sorry. I couldn't resist.
Number one, I order you to go take a number 2. Yeah, I just quoted Beavis and Butthead. Right along. Let's actually talk something good about WWE. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. WWE actually did something for the entire week and didn't screw it up at all. And the flights being delayed, getting back from Crown Jewel to the SmackDown last Friday, November 1st, was like mononucleosis running through the locker room. It turned out to be one of the best things possible because while they were scrambling, Triple H threw out the idea, why don't we just have NXT invade? Ding! So NXT invades on Friday, and you get Daniel Bryan versus Adam Cole. Baby. You also get Miz versus Ciampa. Like, damn.
You get Shayna Baszler running down Sasha Banks and Bayley.
Yes, you do. And then Monday you get Adam Cole and Seth Rollins.
If I hadn't already had 2 things for my good, I think if Cody hadn't delivered the promo he delivered, That spot would have been taken by the promo between Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler. I could feel the intensity smoldering through my television.
Okay.
On that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot all about that. How often have I criticized Shayna Baszler for being just cardboard?
Not as often as I think you think you have, but you have criticized her for that before.
I saw that and thought, who is this? And what did they do with Shayna Baszler?
You know why?
Oh my God.
You know why?
She's
tell
got
you why.
across the ring from her that's an actual G.
She's got worthy adversaries now. And I think, as angry as I was last week about all the circumstances surrounding what was going on in Saudi Arabia and all that kind of stuff, leave it to WWE to turn chicken into chicken salad. Because we got matchups that we never thought we would see. Putting Shayna Baszler in a chair across from Becky Lynch, two massive egos, who are clearly the big dogs in their own respective yards.
Two effing gangsters.
Right. Can go for hours in the ring if you let them, And that match, we were talking a little bit about what do we think Survivor Series is going to look like, and I just don't want a parade of triple threat matches. Well, it depends on what the triple threat matches are.
We're going to get Becky, Bayley, Shayna.
I'm here for that, and
Brian, I am here for that 2 out of 3 falls. I'm here for that Iron Man match. I am here for that falls count anywhere. Name the stipulation as long as it's not a ladder match because you don't show off what they can do in the ring.
Here's the only problem I have.
Jesus.
The only word of caution I'm going to sound, and we can get into this as Survivor Series draws nearer. I worry that they're overextending maybe the NXT folks. Because you got War Games the same weekend, and then you're going to turn right around and do Survivor Series, Raw versus NXT versus SmackDown. I just worry, and I know these are professionally trained athletes. I know they got endurance. I know they'll work safe as they can, and I get all that. I just hope to God we don't have a rash of injuries and stuff like that and concussions and whatnot, that because we overplayed our hand here a little bit.
I don't
That's
think
the only thing there's that nagging voice in the back of my head that says, gee, I hope this is not what we're headed for.
So let's move on a little forward because we had the invasions happen definitely on Friday and to a smaller degree on Monday. There was a full Raw roster, so there was a little bit more resistance to the NXT takeover, pun intended. Then on Wednesday, surprise, NXT does not open up with shock the system. It doesn't open up with this. It opened up with that. When the OC shows up on NXT.
That was weird. It was very weird. In a good way. I'm not knocking it. It was just weird.
It was weird. It was shocking. And for me, as the guy who has been the NXT guy since almost day freaking 1, my first NXT champion that I watched was Big E. So I literally missed only the Rollins reign. That's it. Me seeing that, for me at least, was another massive level of legitimacy to NXT.
Yep.
Because it's not, because way back in the day when before the WWE Network, when NXT was on Hulu, and that was where you went to watch it, you know, they'd have guys come in and work with some of the better talent. You had Jericho wrestled Bray Wyatt once. Cesaro had that run with Sami Zayn. Ziggler and Kofi both wrestled Rusev once. Things like that. You had those things, but never, you know, Cena or Orton or no one like that ever rolled down there and put somebody over. They'd show up and watch a match, but they'd never get in the ring and roll with Bo or Sammy or any of those guys in the early days. And then once the network took off and NXT became more widely known, it was very, to you, I hate using this term, but it's the only term I can think about, very segregated.
Yeah.
Main roster here, NXT here. We do not commingle. People will show up in the crowd and, hi, I'm here watching NXT, but that'll be it. You're not just bringing in a main roster stable. It's not the fact that you're doing that, it's who that stable is.
It's three guys with an international pedigree.
Exactly. Anderson and Gallows, arguably one of the best tag teams in the last 10 years. AJ Styles, arguably one of the greatest of all time. Bullet Club. Not, one of the greatest stables of all time. A renaissance of professional wrestling because of the Bullet Club. And just a marketing landslide. Moving right along. So that adds a massive level of legitimacy, now saying NXT guys don't have to come to us. We can come to them because they're on our level. And they did. And they were haunting the Undisputed Era. And all hell broke loose at the very end. And you had the OC standing over Adam Cole and Tommaso Ciampa. And then Balor's music hits. And that's what you see. You see all three guys from the OC in the ring, two sweeting Finn, and Finn throws up the guns.
There's so many permutations, it makes my head spin.
Oh my God. I try to have ideas about what they're going to do, or even what I would do given this situation. I got to be honest, Brian. Let's just take NXT for what it is. Well, just that. I don't know where I would go from there because there's so many ideas. Is Finn...
Do you agree or disagree with the statement that we're never going to see the four of those guys in a faction together?
It's inevitable. It will happen.
Okay.
But I think they're going to squeeze that thing for all it's worth. I'm really going to come off as a dork on this one. It's that one season of Dawson's Creek where you don't know if Katie Holmes' character and James Van Der Beek character are ever going to fall for each other. And then you wait and 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 they finally do. Yes, I just dropped a Dawson's Creek reference on this show. Fight me. Do, 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 do. I don't want to wait for Brian to stop face palming. Yeah. See what all kinds of crazy crap happens when it's just me and Brian? Because I know Pull
Here's
off.
the title of this week's episode, ladies and gentlemen: The Intersection of Dawson's Creek and NXT.
All right, timeout. You know damn good and well in the 8 years that you've known me, I can make an analogy out of anything. I am that good of a BS artist. I can make an analogy out of anything.
You can, doesn't
I didn't hear any of that because you were whispering too softly.
Okay, just because you can doesn't mean you should, sir.
Fair point, but I do it anyway. Why? Because I can.
Great.
Hey,
So Finn and AJ and all them.
hey, let me pull rank real quick. Look at the credits of this show and every show before this. Executive producer, director, executive producer, director. Fight me. If I want to go off the rails, I can, and you can laugh at me. That's
Okay, well, I'm putting you back on the rails because we're talking about Finn and AJ and Carl and Luke.
exactly. And thank you for reining in the madness because that is part of your job description. He's like, I know, I've been doing this for a long time, dude. Anyway, I do not know where I would go with this because there's so many wonderful angles. Is Finn a renegade? Is Finn only in it for himself? Is Finn really gonna kind of go back to being Prince Devitt and be the real rock and roller? Are we gonna have a 4-man OC? What so many things that you can do. Are we gonna start with a 4-man OC and then build and build and build? Because let's put it this way. Think about this. If Finn joins, how many other people hired by WWE, employed currently by WWE, have ever thrown that up while wearing a black and white t-shirt that did not say NWO? It said Bullet Club. Boom.
Yeah.
Because now you have 4-on-4 Undisputed Era versus OC. Well, Undisputed Era versus OC. And what if the Undisputed Era lost War Games because they were betrayed by Adam Cole, baby? Because Adam Cole ran with those guys.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if they're thinking about it, because I bet Adam Cole right about now is sitting here saying, I'm a little too over as a face right now, despite my best efforts.
All right, time. Okay, he's over as a face despite his best efforts. Why? Because he's damn good in the ring.
Right.
And I hate to break it to you, Brian, as the heel in this conversation, if Adam Cole, who's already getting cheered as a babyface, were to jump ship and turn this into this, he goes from being babyface to mother effing rock star.
Yeah, you're right.
Becomes the single most over thing in WWE. I mean, all you had to do to figure out how over the guy is was listen to the crowd response on Monday Night Raw. He had an entire sellout arena for Monday Night Raw right here.
Yep.
So I don't really think it matters a flying damn what they do with Adam Cole. The fans are going to react to him the way they react to him because he's damn good in the ring, and he just, every pore in his body oozes charisma. I mean, it's just, he's arguably, he's this generation Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
He's just that smooth. I mean, and if you tell me, if you show me a wrestling fan, not someone who likes sports entertainment, I appreciate what they do in the ring. I like breaking down these matches. And you find me a wrestling fan that does not appreciate what Adam Cole can do in the ring, I will ask for their fan card. Because you can't be a wrestling fan and not appreciate how damn good Adam Cole is.
That's true.
So, speaking of how damn good people are, it is homework time, which leads perfectly into our GOAT conversation tonight, because I assigned both RJ, who could not be with us today, and Brian. Help me out. I did not write down the pay-per-view.
It was WCW. Oh dear. I don't have my notes from last week in front of me either. It was WCW. Oh, it was Starrcade.
Oh yeah, it was a Starrcade 96?
Yes, 96. It was either 96 or 97. Hogan and Piper are the main event. I think that's 96.
Yeah, Starrcade 96. I assigned both of the guys our topic of conversation for the end of the show: Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Jushin Thunder Liger. Brian, what'd you think, buddy? Last time I gave you a WCW match, I gave you a flying turd.
Well, this match only gets a B from me. And yeah, I know, but I have legitimate reasons for that. The first reason it only gets a B for me is I was expecting, based on how excited you were when you gave us this match, I was expecting this match to kick into high gear right off the bat and be move after move after move after, and I was expecting, because I know what Liger's capable of. I've seen him in action. I know for sure what Mysterio is capable of. This match never really kicked it into gear the way I thought it would for me. Which is not to say that I don't appreciate their work. It's not to say they don't appreciate the length of their careers. And here's another problem. If you're the commentary team and you've got a match happening right in front of you, why on earth are you still talking about Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper in the main event for the first 5 minutes of the match? That is doing the people that are wrestling in the ring right now in front of you a disservice. Because it's confusing the fan.
Brian, you do realize that was WCW's MO, right?
I get that, but I feel like if you're asking me to watch this match in a vacuum the way I did, I have to take that into consideration. I'm like, wait a minute, you got these two guys right in front of you, and you're talking about Piper and Hogan. Who cares? You can talk about them later on when the match actually happens. So for me, because I had a certain expectation level going into this match and it was not reached, I have to reserve judgment on it. I have to only give it a B. And I know you're about to rip me apart and, tell me how horrible I am because I only gave this match a B, but it just, for me, I know what I'm used to seeing from Mysterio. I know what I'm used to seeing from Jushin Thunder Liger. And neither guy really gave me what I'm used to seeing in this instance.
Right. I disagree. I'm not going to rip you at all. You make very valid points. I disagree with them all. Well, I do not disagree with the commentary team. I think WCW's commentary team did a wonderful job of burying matches left and right. They buried more matches than Triple H did when Triple H, was at the height of his power. I mean, dear Lord, he should have been the Undertaker. And as far as WCW was concerned, the commentary team was the Undertaker because they buried everybody, especially if you were a cruiserweight. So I will not dispute you on that. I also won't dispute you on the tempo of the match. It was a slower tempo than you would expect. However, Liger, even on his best day, could have never been able to hang with the speed of Rey Mysterio Jr. Not a chance, not in a month of Sundays could it have ever happened. Um, I think it was a contrast of styles, even though both guys were light heavyweights. Um, at that point in his career, Liger was starting to develop more of a power high flying game. He had already surpassed the fact that he had invented every damn high fly top rope move ever conceived by man, except for the Phoenix Splash and the moonsault. Those are the only two things the SOB didn't invent. But he was transitioning into more of a tactical cruiserweight, light heavyweight, whatever you want to call it. Mysterio was still at that time was Mysterio, like OG. I am faster than anybody kind of guy. I still thought the match was damn near flawless. It was a great contrast of styles, and there was a lot of groundwork. There was a lot of speed. There was a lot of high flying. Showcasing what both guys were truly capable of. I still give it an A. It is a middle of the road 94 for me. I love the match. It's not a match that gets me overly excited, but it's a match where I can look at it and go, damn, that was good. You know, a nice appreciative clap, a head nod, raise the glass, whatever. It's just, it's the kind of stuff you want to see. So, what's homework for next week, brother? Since RJ's not here, so you are officially on the hook.
And that is fine. That's all well and good. I was able to come up with something. I wanted to continue my theme of giving guys some run on homework that don't usually get a lot of run on homework, kind of the way I did last month with the Big Show match.
Right.
I'm going to take you back to the year 2010.
Okay.
The pay-per-view is Extreme Rules.
Extreme Rules 2010. Okay.
And you are going to get, for this week's homework, a last man standing match between Batista and John Cena for the WWE Championship.
Oh, okay. Sadly enough, this isn't even what I think is, I don't even think this is their best match. Because was this during the title feud that led to the I Quit match?
I don't remember. I know there was an I Quit match in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But I don't remember if that was in 2010 or if that was later on.
I personally love that I Quit match.
But before, in the run up to the show, but when we came on, I was kind of looking for some homework when I realized I was on the hook for it. And I'm like, who haven't we had in homework yet? And I thought, oh, Batista. And one of the matches with Triple H would have been obvious, you know, so I tried to go with a not so obvious match.
Yeah. Batista and Cena worked well together. I thought, I think I recall this match, and I think it's actually, I remember it being pretty good. But at the same time, I still think the best Batista match I ever saw was that I Quit match at Over the Limit. I think it was what they called it when Cena ends it by AAing Batista off the car through the stage.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Awesome. But yeah, okay, so Extreme Rules 2010, Last Man Standing, Cena versus Batista.
You have been served.
The guy from Playing with Fire versus Drax the Destroyer.
Versus the guy from Spectre that gouges the guy's eyes out.
Yeah, that literally has one word of dialogue in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Can you name the line? What does he say?
Oh, I own Spectre too, and I watch it all the time, and I cannot remember.
It's right before he dies.
Is it?
Say it. Say it, potty mouth. Come on.
Is it shit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shit.
Mazel tov, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. This is rant mode on. Mrs. Rant Mode on saw that. We were watching that the other night, and I was like, hey, check it out. Batista's only line in the entire movie, and all the kegs start coming off the train, and he says that. She's like, really? That's it? We go from that to Drax? I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. We go from that to Drax. And then she looked at me and went, we go from shit to ow my nipples? I'm like, yes. I love my wife. She's just as horrible as I am sometimes. All right. I've been looking forward to this. So we enter for the next maybe 10, 15 minutes. We're going to, and we do know we're running a little long. Deal with it. We're going to get into our GOAT conversation this week, this time dealing with Rey Mysterio Jr. Now, to recap, we do have some criteria that we like to follow to determine whether or not these guys really fit the mold of being considered one of the greatest of all time. It's 6 different pieces of criteria. As you can see on the screen right here, we've got career longevity, relevant storylines, obviously career longevity, how long you've gone, did you spend a lot of time injured, things of that nature, relevant storylines, how many memorable things were you a part of, mic skills, I think that's self-explanatory, your championship pedigree, because let's be honest, generally you're not going to be considered one of the GOATs unless you got some hardware, your overall health, because as Brian always likes to say, your best ability is your availability, and then of course your intangibles, the unmeasurable things that separate you from everybody else. Great example we like to bring up was actually when we introduced it was when we talked about The Undertaker and his mystique, because that was part of the nuance of The Undertaker. And let's start with, and I think this is the part of everything that we really need to start with when it comes to Rey Mysterio Jr. And Brian, that would be the championship pedigree. Good.
He's won a boatload. I did not realize this until I did some research. How many titles and how many different promotions he's been in.
Wikipedia. This dude, ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of ridiculous. We're talking titles in AAA, DDT Pro in Japan, Lucha Underground, a couple of other small promotions, the World Wrestling Association, the World Wrestling Council, WCW, and WWE. Now, if we're talking just WCW and WWE, we're still looking at a laundry list. WCW, 5-time Cruiserweight champ, 1-time Cruiserweight tag champ with Billy Kidman, and a 3-time World Tag Team champ with Kidman, Conan, and Juventud Guerrera. And then you get into the WWE. A 2-time World Heavyweight Champion, a 1-time WWE Champion, 3-time Cruiserweight Champion, 2-time Intercontinental Champion, 1-time Tag Champ, 1-time US Champ, 4-time Tag Champ, won the Royal Rumble, and not only is the 21st Triple Crown Champion in WWE history, he's also the 21st Grand Slam champion in WWE history. He's also he is also one of 2 wrestlers in WWE history to hold a form of the World Heavyweight Championship, Intercontinental, US Tag Team, and the Cruiserweight / Light Heavyweight Championship. The other one being Jeff Hardy. There's the only 2 dudes that have done that. And just kind of looking at some other stuff that really doesn't go into like the championship pedigree, Pro Wrestling Illustrated in 1999 had him ranked number 4 in the PWI 500. And in 2003, he was ranked number 56 of the top 500 singles wrestlers of the PWI years. The Wrestling Observer named him the best flying wrestler in 95, 96, 97, 2002, 2003, and 2004. He had a match of the year with as tag teaming with Edge versus Benoit and Angle for the WWE Tag Team Championships at No Mercy. He was the most outstanding wrestler in 1996. He was the Rookie of the Year in 92, and he was the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame inductee in 2010. I need oxygen after rattling all that crap off.
And it's funny you bring all that up because I wrote my notes down before I really researched him in depth. And what's coloring this is I only saw him really in WWE and how they decided to use him. But in all, until you had mentioned the depth and breadth of all of the accolades and championships, I considered him to be typically a mid-card guy. Like he'd be the opening match of the show, or he'd be in the middle of the card. Like they wouldn't put him in that main event spot until that Royal Rumble where he lasted 62 minutes, and knocked out Triple H and Randy Orton at the very end, which I remember that Rumble like it was yesterday. That was something.
One of the best.
But it just seemed to me like, and here's Brian Kriego's unpopular opinion alert. It seemed to me like WWE anyway, kind of like what I said with Bray Wyatt a little bit. They want to push him only so far. Because you could make an argument, as crass and as unpopular and tone deaf as the argument is, that the only reason he got that push for the Rumble and lasting as long as he did in winning and then winning the championship at Mania was because of his association with Eddie Guerrero and Eddie Guerrero's passing. There is that argument out there. And then you mentioned how he was a 2-time WWE champion. The second time he won it was in that intermediary when CM Punk was leaving the company, and they had that tournament, and then he lost it the same night to Cena because Cena came out and cashed in his Money in the Bank or did something or whatever.
Cena reminded everybody that he was John Cena, and
yeah.
So
yeah, he was a 2-time champion, but I guess is what I'm trying to say. That for me, there's always going to be that slight lingering what if. Were they really behind him the way we all wanted them to be behind him? And I guess the answer is always going to be no, because he doesn't fit Vince's mold of what a champion looks like.
Right.
He's 5'6" or 5'7", he weighs 165 pounds, and he's in a mask. And his talent is undisputed. His talent is beyond reproach. But he was a victim of, I'm in this promotion where the promoter wants big, huge men, and these are big, huge men, and that kind of thing.
He's in a business in America because despite being a luchador and despite being a god in Mexico, let's not forget one thing. Birthplace, San Diego, California.
Yes.
He's an American of Mexican descent, but he's an American. Regardless of that, he was so wrestling by wanting to come to America. You're going to be in one of the, at the time, 3 big promotions, and everybody there is a big guy. Because let's not forget, before the luchadors invaded, for lack of a better term, WCW, you had a hell of a series of matches in ECW between Rey Mysterio and Psychosis, culminating in that Mexican death match. And I don't remember what show that is, but good Lord, it was a great match. Mysterio, in my opinion, yeah, first off, I totally agree with you. As bad as it sounds, Rey does not get that first championship match if Eddie does not die. I'm just throwing that out there. Kind of like the same way Christian doesn't get his first World Heavyweight Championship if Edge doesn't have to retire because of a neck injury.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thing on that. It was
sympathetic booking.
It was sympathetic booking / Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah.
Were both of them deserving of it? Hell yes. But to me, I gotta be honest, man. Even without the 3 world title reigns, because he beat Swagger after Swagger had cashed in Money in the Bank on him. No, he beat Swagger, then got cashed in on by Kane. And then obviously beat Angle and Orton, beat Orton and I can't remember.
He beat Orton at No Way Out because Orton kind of like goaded him into putting his putting his Royal Rumble win on the line, or his title shot on the line.
Yeah, but he beat Orton and somebody else at Mania. Was it Orton and Angle?
No, I think it was Orton and Triple H.
Might have been. Anyway, moving right along. He wins that, and to me that was like the culmination. And at the same time, it was a paradigm shift in WWE, because until then, smaller guys never really got a shot. I don't think you have an Edge or a CM Punk or a Jeff Hardy or a Matt Hardy or a Christian or anyone like that ever, or a Rob Van Dam, ever sniffing a world championship opportunity had it not been for Rey Mysterio. And at the same time, you erase all 3 of those world title victories from Rey Mysterio Jr.'s resume, he's still a friggin' gangster. Yep. Because he's done everything else. It's kind of like one of those, like a really amazing version of, say, Kofi. Without the title, without the big title, you still got this massive resume. But I think what makes Rey Mysterio a GOAT and a Hall of Famer is the intangible. And the intangible isn't the mystique, and it isn't a stable, it's the mask. Because, okay, without using the words Rey Mysterio or Mil Mascaras, name an amazing luchador. Amazing. Not just good, amazing.
I feel like it'd be cheat. I feel like it'd be.
Huh?
Well, I feel like it'd be cheating if I said El Santo, because I've never seen him wrestle.
Oh, El Santo.
But I know about the history of El Santo and how much he lived his gimmick and everything like that. But again, have I ever seen an El Santo match? No. So I can't really say that as a legitimate argument.
Right. So I was trying to be funny earlier, but I kind of get to rest my case on that. Rey Mysterio Jr.'s mystique being the fact.
You knew I was going to try and come up with a name, though.
I know, of course I did. Please.
I'm equal to that challenge.
No.
Hold on, let me Google it. Just kidding.
I think the mystique gives him the right to be able to say he is, without question, the underline, the greatest masked man of all time. No touching that. And I'm not just saying masked luchador. Anyone to ever wear a mask. Greater than Mascaras. Greater than, older Muda. Greater than Liger. Greater than Tiger Mask. The great Sasuke. I can go on and on. Pegasus Kid, doesn't matter. If you ever put on a mask, You are aspiring to be Rey Mysterio Jr. That's just all there is to it. He embodied the mask. So to me, that kind of, puts the exclamation point at the end of the sentence. Relevant storylines. We just talked about the storyline post Eddie Guerrero's death. And then there's the storyline with Eddie Guerrero, where we joke about it on the show, the ladder match for the custody of Dominic, but that entire storyline and those
It was
amazing,
very emotionally charged.
oh God, yes,
I
because
mean, how much of it you were making up, I don't care. That's still communicated on the screen as, geez, I mean, this is kind of unsettling. And then we're going
right,
to have a wrestling match on top of that, and there's going to be all these characters involved.
right. I mean,
Oh.
you have literally had both wives involved. You had you had children involved. Families, legitimate families. I mean, not like that one time where Randy Orton's having the interview with his wife on the couch and they gave
Right.
her the same name as his actual wife at the time. Not that. You literally had Rey Mysterio's wife, Angie, and both of their kids, Dominic and Aaliyah. And you had Eddie Guerrero and his legitimate wife, Vicky, in this. And Vicky got mic time telling Eddie, paraphrasing, please don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Please do this. And then she pushes him off the ladder and costs him the match. There has not, I do not recall since then there being as emotional of a storyline in WWE television. We make fun of the match because it was just so absurd that the storyline involved the custody of Rey Mysterio's biological son.
Right.
I mean, look at Dominic. He has his dad's face and his mom's height. And yes, if you've ever seen pictures of them together, she's tall. She's like 5'10". So, and that, and WCW, he was the giant killer. He beat Nash, he beat Sid. He was the poor bastard when the NWO was running roughshod over everybody. He jumped off of something like a trailer,
TV truck.
Yeah, a TV truck into the waiting arms of Kevin Nash, who then flipped him over onto his shoulder, heads right here, boys and girls, and ran and just torpedoed him head first into the side of said production truck. He had that brutal, hard to watch feud with JBL that led up to JBL's retirement at whatever WrestleMania that was. I can't remember.
2023, I think.
Yeah,
where he beat him in under a minute.
One that was in Houston. Yeah, beat him under a minute for the Intercontinental title, and then JBL quit. But it was, JBL wanting to retire, and JBL had later said, if I couldn't lose my career to Eddie Guerrero, I wanted to lose my career to Rey Mysterio. He did it as a way of honoring Eddie, who both of those guys loved to the ends of the earth. Right. So relevant storylines, it's there. Overall health, it's there despite him having a crap load of knee injuries. Career longevity, he's still going.
Yeah.
We're talking, I remember seeing him for the very first time in 1994. I was still in high school. And and that was in ECW, and or 94 or 95. Regardless, I'm still in high school, and here I am at 41, and he's still going. So career longevity is there. Again, it seems like this seems to be the crux of nearly everybody we talk about. Mic skills. No.
In fact, the only time he really connects with an audience is when he speaks on Espanol.
Yes.
You know, if he's in San Diego or if he's in Houston, Texas, or if he's down in, you know, Miami, Florida, and he's speaking, you know, to the Hispanic population, you know, that's when he gets a really big pop because he's, you know, he lapses into Spanish and everybody goes nuts. You know, I've never really considered him a good person on the mic.
No.
And I don't know what to attribute that to.
You can't even say good. There's great mic workers, there's good mic workers, there's meh, and there's bad. He's meh.
Yeah.
I would never say he's bad because bad would be on the lines of like Sid or Scott Steiner, who make no sense whatsoever. He made sense. It was just as entertaining as, you know, Vladimir Kozlov. There you go. Sorry. So I guess we end it by asking, as usual, the question: is he worthy of the title of one of the greatest of all time? Now, don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, we are never, ever going to say this one specific person is the greatest of all time. Because in professional wrestling, a fake sport, boys and girls, there's way too many correct answers to that question. And I guarantee you, Brian and I will not agree on who we think is the greatest of all time. But I ask you this: is he worthy of being in the conversation?
Well, and the answer to your question, who's the greatest of all time? Obviously, it's S.A. Rios, but that's another discussion for another time. Yes, I won. Rey obviously did, deserves consideration here. You know, if for nothing else, the sheer length of the career and the fact that he's involved in relevant storylines despite my initial first blush reactions to it. You know, and the pardon?
He sneaks up on you.
Yes, he does. When you started reading all those accomplishments, I had forgotten about more than half of them.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that he wears the mask and he's very proud of it. And I remember one thing from my research that he was very distraught when he had to unmask in WCW. And there was an uproar from the lucha community when he remasked upon joining WWE, because it's like, well, wait a minute, you lost a mask versus or a stipulation where you had to be unmasked, so you're kind of bucking the tradition of what luchas do. If you lose your mask, that's it. You gotta stay that way. So, but despite all of that, I mean, the guy obviously knows what he's doing. He obviously has a great in-ring style. The one thing I forgot about, he's actually had 2 wellness policy violations.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten that he was one of the people implicated in that. So that's a little bit of a
Can I be honest?
minor criticism.
The wellness policy, while it's in place, let's be honest. Jeff Hardy, plenty of wellness policy violations. Randy Orton, plenty of them. There's no, unless they really don't give a flying rat's ass about you, there is no 3 strikes and you're out rule in WWE. Because Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy I know for a fact, have both exceeded 5. So don't give that.
Hello. No, I'm just bringing it up for full disclosure. That's all.
I mean, hello. How many times have the Usos been popped for drunk driving?
Too many.
Like currently suspended because, you know, look, boys and girls, there is only one appropriate time to ever drive drunk, and it's called a video game. I condone that because that's fun. I mean, look, why are you going to play Mario Kart unless you're completely hammered? You know, they send you one red shell, they look like 6. Yay. Gonna just adds to the intensity of the race. Woohoo! My college days were fun. Shout out to Jacksonville State. So I'll ask you one more question, Brian. Yes or no? Is he the greatest masked man of all time?
I would have to say yes, because I would have to dig too deeply and come up with a fringe candidate that you would probably consider for like 10 seconds and then be like, you can't hold a candle to Mysterio. So
I only think of 2 other people that I would even put in that conversation. One of them would be Mil Mascaras, because of just what he meant to luchadors, and Jushin Thunder Liger.
Yeah.
The only 2 I would even put in the conversation. And ultimately, I would say that Mysterio beats out Liger by about that much, because of what Liger's intangibles are. Whereas Rey ascended the world of the luchador to unseen, unparalleled heights through his work in America. Jushin Thunder Liger's contributions to professional wrestling as a whole are seen in every wrestler that you see nowadays, because half the moves these high flyers are doing, he invented. So Liger's a different story for a different time, and I promise you, he's coming up at some point, but the next GOAT discussion is actually RJ's call. And then the next one will be Brian's. And then, if we haven't gotten to Liger by then, I might throw him out there. If not, I guarantee you this. I can say this myself. My next GOAT, which will be in 3 GOAT conversations we have, whenever those decide to happen. My next GOAT will be a Japanese wrestler.
okay.
I'm telling you that right now, and it's one of 2 guys. And no, his name is not Okada. As much as I love Kazuchika Okada, the 2 guys I've got in mind, Okada doesn't even hold a candle to. So, before we get out of here, Brian, any final thoughts?
Full Gear's probably going to be bonkers. I know RJ's got some content coming up where he will enlighten the wrestling masses on his thoughts about Full Gear and what's going to happen. So do yourselves a favor and order it up, check it out. Yep. And we're going to see what happens going forward with NXT and everything that's going to happen as a result of that. And thank you, as always, for engaging with us. Lots of different ways you can do it. You can hit us up on Twitter. Your boys at bcrigo15. Mr. Rant Mode On over there is on Twitter oddly enough, at Rant Mode On. Look at that. And then RJ, who couldn't be with us tonight, but we wish him all the best, is available at RJEman with 2 N's at the end. You can always email the show. It's wrestlingwithegos@gmail.com. And you can check out our Google repository for our archived content, homework assignments, episodes, etc. It's at bit.ly/withegos.
I just had an idea of what I'm going to do with the slash for this week, and I'm going to put it only on this most recent one just to be dumb. I just had a great idea.
Oh, goody.
Oh yeah, definitely looking forward to Full Gear. Looking forward to RJ's bonus content with his breakdown of Full Gear. Also looking forward to my bonus content, which is still coming. I got a little bone to pick with WWE and a former women's champion not following protocol. So that's coming. I still got some gears to grind. So until next Friday, my name is Patrick. That's Brian. For RJ and all the family and all the team, this has been Wrestling with Egos. And until next week, that's our story. And we're sticking to it.